So first up in this, say like bottom mid-tier characters, I have a lot of personal bias on putting this character here. I'm gonna move Duck Hunt. I've always played characters that do really good against Duck Hunt. I've got some good Duck Hunt experience going to Japan, and I just gotta say, Duck Hunt in this game, to me, it feels like he got robbed. A lot of the projectiles are a lot laggier. You have air dodge and recovery, but overall, it just feels like Duck Hunt doesn't have hitboxes, doesn't have recovery. Projectiles kind of aren't too great, so I'm gonna have to put Duck Hunt somewhere in my B tier. Sorry, little buddy. Another character at the bottom of my B tier would have to be the young Mewtwo. Now, Mewtwo has a lot of stuff. I actually think Mewtwo's biggest problem, in my opinion, is matchups. A lot of characters that got jammed by like swordies and big hitboxes in Smash 4 kind of lose to the same things in this game. I do think Mewtwo has a lot of stuff. I think Mewtwo has a lot of places meta can go, but it's not that I think like top 50 is bad. I think B tier is still pretty viable. I'd love to see some of the Mewtwo's do some stuff, but right now I just put them around here in terms of like character strength. Another character I'd have to put here, I'm surprised it took a little bit, but Byleth. Byleth as a character, a lot to be desired, not too great frame data, not such a great recovery. While you can still like catch people slipping, a lot of people are going to evolve in regards to countering the recovery. It's really difficult for Byleth, in my opinion, to flourish, and Byleth is another one of those characters without great mobility. You guys know how much I value mobility, so Byleth is also in this tier. So the next character probably has the highest potential out of any characters, and you might have seen it, but Ice Climbers. Ice Climbers, I've gotten jammed by Ice Climbers so many times. I know what this character is capable of in both ways. Sometimes Nana just gets destroyed, and I feel like the Ices players, like Side B is one of the best moves in my opinion. It's such a great move, and it opens up a lot of avenues for what Ices can do. You have a lot of parry tricks, but sometimes things just don't go your way. And while Ices, they're another one of the characters where you have very high highs, but your lows can just be so bad. And I don't know if that's ever gonna change. I think it's pretty fine with the way that like Ices can pull things off in this game. Not that it's like deserved, but I think rounds off Ices in this B tier area. Now, this character recently got buffed, but it's gonna have to be the Pit. Now, the Pits have a lot of stuff. They have really good hitboxes. They're pretty fast, but they're not fast in the air. Their recovery isn't too great. There's no hitbox. It's kind of easy to edge guard. I do think a lot of the Pits like landing traps are really solid. A lot of Pits have like really good smash attacks, but it's just really hard when you can't really get away in the air. The down B buff was really, really big in terms of getting out of disadvantage, but I just personally don't think it was enough. So I'm gonna have to put the Pits in this tier as well. This character gets really hyped, but I'm just not about it. Wii Fit Trainer. Wii Fit Trainer doesn't have great mobility, doesn't have great hitboxes, and a lot of Wii Fit stuff is the offstage game. If you know how to challenge Wii Fit offstage, I feel like you can just kill this character earlier than I guess would happen normally, mainly because the character just flies around offstage a lot, really close to blast zones, both horizontally and the bottom blast zone. So to me, even with deep breathing stuff and super early kill confirms, potential for really high damage, I feel like there's a lot of cons that this character has that I personally don't think too highly of. Next up, I also don't think too greatly of this character is Bowser. Bowser has great hitboxes, good auto shield options, the command grab that can kill, but when Bowser gets hit, I think it's really poor. I don't think Bowser's moves are like crazy safe on shield regardless, not too great of a ground game. While Bowser does have a good advantage state, you still have kind of not too great of a recovery. I do think Bowser is still one of the better heavy characters, but I've just never thought too highly of Bowser in regards to this game. I don't think the speed that Bowser has really makes up for it. At the end of the day, Bowser is a heavy that hits really hard. He has really good hitboxes, but he still has a lot of the cons that a heavy has. Now, this character also got buffed, and I still think really highly of this character, but Bayonetta. This character has such high highs and like such low lows. It's so weird. I still think Bayo is pretty nuts, and again, like this tier is not for characters that I think are bad. I think we're already getting into the area of characters that are pretty solid overall. But while Bayo has had a lot of consistency issues fixed, I just don't think it was enough. As long as like, not a lot of characters can counterplay it, but as long as you understand, like, hey, this character has very clear-cut kill conditions, it makes it very difficult for the Bayo player to succeed, even with very high damaging combos, great recovery. And kind of to round out this top 40 to top 50, this like entry B tier category, I will have Min Min. Now, I actually have only seen a lot of the pros of this character. I've seen a lot of the Twitter clips, I've seen people flourish in like an online environment, but for me, this is a character where, one, you don't have too great of a recovery, and I feel like that hinders a lot of characters. You can die on accident. You have amazing neutral, but Min Min seems like one of those characters where you're going to have those bad matchups. I think Min Min as a counter pick right now would be amazing, but Min Min as a standalone character, I'm not too sure what the cap of Min Min's potential would be. And it seems like it's pretty high, honestly, but it also seems like the potential of just destroying Min Min with one of the better characters in the game is very, very possible. Now we're kind of moving on to that top 30 to top 40 category. I would say these are the characters that would be considered like entry, like super strong characters, not like the strongest of the bunch, but they're getting really close. This is a round where you get like to the upper half of the characters. It's a little B+ area. So starting this off, I don't think highly of this character, but I've only seen great things about them. Corrin. Now, Corrin as a character, this is another character, I've always had good matchups against the character. I've always had great experience against the character thanks to Cosmos. And in my previous tier list, I probably had Corrin like bottom 5, but Corrin had some really nice buffs. It seems like there's a really good combo game now. Corrin always has the potential to kill you really early with neutral B. I still think the recovery is really bad, but Corrin can do a lot of the things that sword characters can do on stage. Corrin's just not as fast, which I wouldn't say it really changes things up, because Corrin has good hitboxes, but to me, Corrin is just overall a pretty good character, kind of getting into the entry level of the greater characters of the game. Next up is somebody who a lot of people know, love, and hate, Ken Masters. Ken Masters. One thing about the Shotos that I don't like too much, they don't have great hitboxes. While they have great damage, they don't have great hitboxes. Their long-range neutral isn't too great, and a lot of people just don't like fighting against these characters. I've liked fighting against the Shotos even in Smash 4, where Rage Shoryuken was much more of a problem. And Ken kind of just feels like Smash 4 Ryu, where you get him off stage, you have a very high chance to kill him, and while he's on stage, you can kind of just like use your mobility over his. If your character doesn't have mobility, it's really rough. But most of the time, you just force Ken to engage you in situations where you want to engage, not when he's kind of just mashing on your shield, you know? So I think Ken's really solid. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not surprised when Ken does take games. So up next is one of my actual favorite characters in Smash, Samus. Well, I mean, not in Smash, but from another. I love Metroid. So Samus actually has a lot of just janky hurtbox shifty stuff. Mainly the fact that Charge Shot is as good as it is. Samus has amazing anti-airs. It's really hard to catch the character. This character has amazing advantage state. This character's recovery is really good. Great out of shield options. I think dash attack kills now. You have a stronger kill throw. This character is a very big gatekeeper to like how solid are you at playing against projectile characters. And I think Samus overall, Samus will always have her type of a place in the meta, in my opinion. Oh man, everybody hates this character, Luigi. Luigi has so many ways to kill you that it's insane. Now, I've always thought not too great of Luigi. My opinion has been changing vastly as time goes on, as even like nowadays you can die without getting grabbed. Luigi mains have pushed this character so far. My biggest gripe with Luigi is his recovery, unless you get good RNG, quite literally. It's very easy to stop Luigi from recovering. A lot of people are getting their combos to be a lot more just straight up true, and Luigi does have those types of matchups where it just feels really difficult. Could be wrong on that. It's kind of just how it feels from like my perspective of seeing Luigi players and like their bracket runs. I still see Luigi do like amazing things. Again, this tier is a lot of really solid characters. It's just, and when it comes to this game, the really solid characters start really like early on the tier list. So I think Luigi, in my opinion, he's like a B+ character, top 40. Been moving down on my tier list. Yoshi, I've lost to this character before. I think this character overall is really, really good. Yoshi's always been a character with really good air mobility, not like the greatest ground game, but Yoshi does have F tilt, up tilt. So Yoshi in this game is a lot better than Smash 4 in my opinion, but it's another character where there's a lot of matchups that just make it really difficult for Yoshi in my opinion. I don't think Yoshi's recovery is like too amazing. While you can do the double jump up B, it's still like very risky. You can always die off of like just one wrong neutral interaction. So I think Yoshi's great. I just think there are greater characters in the game. And that goes into the next character, my boy, Pichu. I've actually been liking Pichu a lot more as time goes on. I've kind of been going back to the boy. But there are times where, you know, I've been saying some characters die on accident because of their recoveries. Well, Pichu literally just dies on accident. I think even if this character weighed like around Jig's weight, this character would be a lot better. But there's a lot of times where you can die out of shield at like 60, 70. It's really brutal, while the character, again, has one of the best advantages in the game in terms of like what this character can pull off. This character, when it comes to counterplaying, it just becomes really, really difficult. And overall, like, this character probably has the highest highs and the lowest lows in the whole game. So when this character's on it, you're getting destroyed, and when this character's not on it, he just feels really bad. So we'll keep Pichu up here. I still have faith for the boy. Maybe me or some of the other Pichus will pull some stuff off, moving him up. But until you get past the cons, it's really hard to make his pros shine. This character underwent a lot of changes, but it doesn't change my opinion too much. Ike. Ike lost kind of the more typical Nair up air at majority of percents on stage, which I don't really think was too crazy of a deal. You can still get the Nair up air most of the time. You can also get Nair up B, which is a little harder. Your advantage state is a lot better, but I don't think many of these things ever really changed how I feel about Ike. I feel like you can almost always parry his Nair, or you can just shield it and Ike won't do too much when he gets on the ground. When it comes to recovering, there's actually, his side B is really good. I have a lot of trouble edge guarding it even with other characters. But even on the edge, Ike's not too great. Like, the disadvantage isn't too great. He's being a sword character, but he doesn't have a lot of the stuff that like Marcina would have. So after you get a hit, I just feel like it's a lot harder for Ike to pull off his game plan. And his neutral is pretty linear in my opinion, which moves Ike around this area. The bane of my existence in Smash 4, Rosalina. Now, Rosalina has seen a lot of very strange results out of only like Dabuz and Kirihara, as far as I'm concerned. Let's go Dabuz. But Rosalina is one of the more technical characters of the game, where you need to be able to pull off her tech in order to make her succeed. She still has bad matchups. She still has good matchups. Like, end of the day, Luma creates such a strong wall for the character. And Rosa's new Nair is also just insanely good too. I've seen so many crazy confirms with a lot of Rosa stuff nowadays, like Nair, into like you delay the second hit into up air. There's a lot that this character can do, and you're not going to see it until you go into like the super top levels of play. But it doesn't change the fact that Rosa will have those matchups that she struggles in. She's still like a pretty light character. Her recovery has a lot to be desired. And at the end of the day, I think Rosa's pretty good. I think we're getting to the era of a lot of these characters are pretty dang good. Which goes into the next topic, Cloud. Now, you might be thinking, wow, Cloud, mid-tier, right? This is top 32-ish in the whole tier list. I think top 32, you're getting into that upper area, but I just think Cloud is on the lower end of the stronger characters. Recovery, much to be desired. When it comes to not killing off of a stray hit, it's very hard. Don't get me wrong, stray hits are huge, but you can always just shield it. You don't have to risk the parry, you don't have to risk the dash. I think people are going to get a lot better at this as time goes on. And Cloud will have those matchups where it's just like, this character is really good at edge guarding me. This character is really hard to hit with stray hits. And eventually you get to that point where players are very good at exploiting this. While we have been in this online era that we've been in, I do think this is kind of where the counterplaying for Cloud is going to be going. And to me, it just rounds him out. Where I'll just put him in an upper B tier. I think Cloud will still pull a lot of upsets. I think Cloud will still do really good, but I don't think he'll consistently be in like that super upper echelon of players or results overall. And this pulls me to the last character in this B tier. It was Captain Falcon. Now, Captain Falcon, to me, he's still a really solid character. He's really good. The buffs were really good. You literally have an armored gap closing move that spaces itself on shield. And this is going to, again, come from a spot of more personal bias. I've always played characters that do good against Falcon. Even though I personally suck at edgeguarding him. Like, I think I'm so bad at edgeguarding him. But the fact that the edgeguarding win condition is always there is really rough. I think his up B, like, I fought Fatality. He's so amazing at mixing up the recovery. But overall, I think the recovery, there's a lot to be desired. I think neutral, the main thing about fighting Falcon is it feels like Falcon is the one taking the risks in neutral. And while he can get a lot off of these risks, it's still taking risks. You know, if you're fighting a really safe character, I feel like it can be very difficult. If you're fighting a really safe player, I feel like it can be very difficult. But who knows? I think this is the #1 character that... This and Luigi have been, I guess, the two characters where people have been constantly proving me wrong. And I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing what both the Falcons and the Luigis have been pulling off. And with the new buffs, I would love to see a lot more. I know it might be some time before I can, which is kind of heartbreaking, but I would love to see a lot more from the Falcon players. So right now, I will round off this area with Captain Falcon. Now again, to reiterate, this is the characters where I think these characters are really solid. I think these characters are really strong, but you might not have the best matchup spread, or you just have exploitable cons, or even to me where it's like, I just think this character just isn't that great, you know? So overall, these characters, I think I could even see the argument for them being like top 30, but overall, these characters to me, you're already starting to get into tournament viable characters that you can see in like top 16s, top 32s. A lot of characters in this game are really strong. A lot of people might disagree with me on that, but I think there's a lot of characters in this game are strong, and that makes it to where matchup spread is really important. Who you can beat and who you can beat, how strong your character is as a solo main, the list goes on. But don't think like, hey, my character was in this area, this character sucks. No, I've lost to a lot of the characters in this area personally. I think a lot of these characters are really solid. It's just, you know, sometimes your character just has some cons. There's nothing wrong with like being a character with some cons. Top tiers, very clearly, like, these characters are nuts. These characters are insane. These characters might just be like a little step below insane, you know? These characters are great. These characters are solid, just not insane. So with all of this being said, the tier list should look something like this. If you want to hear any explanations for the characters, you can always go back and just find the part in the video where I talk about them. These characters, again, I don't think a lot of people will fully agree with calling these mid tiers. For me, it's more so they're just kind of the middle of the pack in regards to the whole roster. I think the overall strength of characters in this game is a lot more towards the top. I would consider a lot of these characters, even starting from like 40, 50, to be stronger. And then I guess like these characters, I think these characters are just like overall very strong. Game has a lot of strong characters, and you know, I really like that. Actually, as a competitor, it's hard because there's a lot of matchups to learn, but I like the fact that there's a lot of characters that can be considered strong, that can again make those top 16, top 32 appearances. And yeah, let's wait and see what I think about the top 30 in the game. I'm even interested to find out myself. So see you guys at the next video. Peace.